Welcome back to another episode of the Be Who You Came to Be podcast. I'm your host, Tara Renze. It's a solo episode today. I'm so glad you're here with me. I'm never alone when I have you on the other side of the recording. So if you've been listening to the podcast for a while, you know, we flip-flop back and forth between a guest and a solo episode. And I have to tell you, these solo episodes are becoming some of my favorite episodes because they have also really challenged me to dive deep and think about what does it mean to be who you came to be. As you know, I am an emotional intelligence practitioner. I am certified in emotional intelligence. So I thought a great series would be to really dive deep into specific emotional intelligence traits, what they are, how they show up in your life, how you can navigate them, how you can elevate them, giving you different ideas for ways to tapping into them, to breaking through, little hacks that you can do. And so last week we talked all about reality testing. And I've had so much great feedback on the reality testing episode. I think it's something really interesting how often we forget that we are not our thoughts. And just because we think something doesn't mean it's a truth. Today, we're going to be talking all about self-awareness, probably one of the most important emotional intelligence traits. You know, my definition of emotional intelligence is being able to understand your thoughts, ideas, and emotions, and then choosing how you show up regardless of how you feel. That is the highest form of self-awareness. I think we could all quickly identify someone in our life who has zero, zip, zilch, none, absolutely no self-awareness. We know these people, right? They are all over the place. You never know what you're going to get. They're high, they're low, they're, literally seem like they could have like multiple personality disorder because they are not regulating their emotions and they're letting their emotions drive them versus them taking ownership and being the ones who are driving every day. So my definition of emotional intelligence is being able to understand your thoughts, ideas, and emotions, and then choosing how you show up regardless of how you feel. It's the idea that you're all entitled to having a bad day. You are only human. You're not entitled to give someone else a bad day. This is self-awareness. It's being able to understand what you're feeling and then choosing how to show up regardless of how you feel. Now, this doesn't mean suppressing emotions. This doesn't mean ignoring how you're feeling. It's absolutely completely opposite of that. It's really getting in touch with exactly what's going on inside of you, but then still making the choices on how we show up. You know, how we approach anything in life is how we conquer it. And this is why emotional intelligence is so important. I thought it would be helpful for me to give you the exact definition of self-awareness. Self-awareness is the ability to tune in to your own feelings, thoughts, and actions. When people are self-aware, they understand their strengths and challenges and know what helps them thrive. They also understand that how they see themselves may be different than how other people see them. But here's the kicker for me with self-awareness. It doesn't just mean focusing on good vibes and all the positive things in our life. It means that we're honest with ourselves about how we're feeling, even the weird stuff, even the mixed emotions, even the uncomfortable stuff. But most importantly, not judging yourself for it. So many times we get so damn judgy on how we feel, like I shouldn't be feeling like this, or I wish I didn't feel like this, or trying to slough emotions off, when really it's like, hey, the emotions are there to try to tell you something, You know, one of the key takeaways from my keynote and the message that I share on stage is you don't need to be happy all the time. Like that is not the human experience. And why we got sucked into this toxic positivity of people wanting to manufacture happiness and instead of really getting in touch with what their emotions are trying to tell them is unbeknownst to me. What we do need to focus on is being fulfilling, or doing fulfilling things, being fulfilled in our lives. And today we're going to be diving more in on that with emotional intelligence. But I thought I would tell you a story recently that really had me tapping into my self-awareness and was like, hey, what does this mean? What is this trying to tell me? I was traveling a ton at the first of the year, and then I had a 30-day kind of lull in my business. It's normal in the speaking business. We'll go 90 miles an hour and then, zero, like literally off the road, back home. And then, in the next 45 days, I'm in 5 cities. So it ebbs and flows. But I had been home for 30 days, no keynotes, no travel, just home. And when it came time to get back out on the road, I had a lot of different emotions. I felt excited, I felt joy, I felt energy, but I also kind of had this like hesitation and a little bit of sadness almost. It was kind of like, oh, I'm so excited to get back on the road, but man, it was really nice being in my little home cozy bubble with my boys and my husband and my dog and like this, this really slow paced lifestyle that I absolutely love. If you know me, my family, my boys, my husband, my dogs, like they are my everything. Like they are the heart of everything I do. So it wasn't uncommon really that I would have these feelings, but for some reason they really stuck out to me. Like I was on the plane flying to this event, and instead of being like, yeah, let's go, I'm so excited, I just had this like little nudge of uncertainty, just this, like these mixed feelings. And in the past, there might have been part of me that just tried to brush that off, to be like, don't feel that, do your thing, just go be excited. But instead, I really tried to lean into it and really think about what it was telling me. And, for me, it wasn't a sign that something was wrong or off or like, oh, maybe I don't want to be speaking anymore or out on the road. It was just my self-awareness. And it was also this idea that I could hold several different emotions and feelings at once. I could be very excited to get back on the road, but also a little bit like, oh man, it was so nice just being at home and chilling. And this is where we can really tune in to exactly who we came to be. It's not about saying, stop feeling this certain way. It's really about saying, what does this show to you? And for me, it almost always shows my values, what matters most to me. I have been balancing career and family for 18 years. And it's the hardest thing I've ever done. And, it's not even about balancing it. It's about understanding it. And that sometimes we're going to have gas in one area of our life, and then we're going to be on the brakes, in that same area of our life, maybe the next month, maybe the next week. It just changes. So today we're going to really be diving into like, what does self-awareness mean? What do mixed emotions mean? What are they trying to tell you? How do we learn from them? How do we grow from them? How do we move towards the person that we came to be? And when are they truly a sign that something in your life needs to change? So I think, I already talked a little bit about the notion that you don't need to be happy all the time. And I think this is one of the things that our society gets so wrong. And we have this myth, we live in this world of, glorifying happiness and joy and positivity. I joke that I used to have a good vibes only t-shirt. Like you're going to put it on and just be like, good vibes only. And I'm just going to ignore the shit out of anything else that isn't good vibes. And it's just not the human experience. It certainly isn't self-awareness. And I'm not going to go fully down this rabbit hole, but I do believe that it's part of the problem with the mental health crisis in this country is we have this toxic positivity, and we've told people, be happy, choose happy, get happy. I saw a recent campaign for a high school, and I loved that it was a happiness campaign, but the slogan was be happy. Well, high schoolers and teens already have a hard enough time navigating emotions, so telling them to just be happy, for me, I don't think it's the right message to be sending them. It's like, we need to tell them, be real, be honest, be okay with who you are, feel what you need to feel, be self-aware, live fulfilled. You were meant to do hard things. You are enough. Like there's so many messages we could be saying versus be happy. Because I think we all know, like we just can't manufacture happiness. And if we could, no one would be struggling with mental health because we would literally be able to flip that light switch and be happy at any time. So emotional intelligence isn't about being happy. It's about being honest. It's about being honest with what we're feeling, how we're feeling, and what are those emotions telling us? When we deny our discomfort, we miss out on our growth. So here are some ideas, some things that when you're self-aware, you might see yourself saying to yourself, like, I'm excited for this opportunity, but I'm also nervous. I love my job, but I'm really fucking tired right now. I'm proud of where I am, but I have so much to figure out still. Like I am still becoming who I came to be. And you don't have to feel one thing at a time. You don't need to clean up your emotions before you share them. You just have to own them. You have to be okay feeling however you're feeling, knowing that you're feeling it for a reason. Whether is it excitement or unknown or uncertainty or love or failure or grief or disappointment or discouragement or love or elation, like whatever it is, all these emotions are trying to tell you something. And this is how you can truly next level your life and be who you came to be. For me, mixed emotions doesn't mean it's muddy. It actually is clarity. For me, mixed emotions are clarity. So let's talk about let's go back to that whole 30 days off when I was sitting on the plane, feeling excited, but there was also kind of this pit in my heart and my stomach of ugh, what is this trying to tell me? And, I started thinking about this, and I was thinking about how much we love routine, how much our bodies specifically love routine. And I had fallen in to this really wonderful rhythm. And when I'm not on the road, I live a pretty slow lifestyle, as slow as I possibly can. If my kids don't have to get up in the morning, I am not going to rush out of bed at 6 a.m. I will usually wake up around 6:30 or 7. I might lay there, open up the blinds, think about my day. Sometimes I will check emails in bed. Don't judge me. If you don't like to do that, don't do that. It works for me. So I live this pretty slow lifestyle. I do lots of exercising, slow-paced work, lots of family time. I'm flexible and open for whatever I can do, but I really try to slow down. So it was time to switch gears, and I felt this resistance because suddenly I was out of my routine and my body was like, whoa, what is going on? This was so chill. It was so good. And now, I had the anxiety of being back on stage. Was I going to have the words? Was I going to do all this? I remember the night before I left, I told my husband, I'm like, God, I've been off stage for 30 days. I hope I'm not rusty. I've been, watching video and practicing. He's like, babe, are you kidding me? That's your home base. For your career, that's your home base. It's where you shine. And that alone gave me this you're right. Why would I be questioning all this? And the emotions were only telling me because you care deeply about this, you want to make sure that you make an impact. There's a really great book, by the way, called The War of Art, not The Art of War, The War of Art. And it talks about resistance and how resistance is what keeps us from moving forward and being who we came to be. Well, that's what I was feeling on the plane was resistance. And so instead of being like, oh my God, this is a sign, I'm burned out, I no longer should be on stages, I need to be home, I just reminded myself hey, this resistance is because of change. It's an up level. You're going to get out there. You're going to love it. Power through it. This is normal. Lean into the resistance and go do your thing. Go shine. Mixed emotions don't mean that you're confused. I don't know where we got this of you need to have total clarity. Mixed emotions mean that you're connected. You're connected to all these different parts of your life because you don't operate in a silo, right? I mean, I am Tara Renze. I am a keynote speaker. I am an author. I am a mom. I am a mom to Ben. I am a mom to Jack. Those are two very different mothering experiences. I'm a wife to Scott. I have my mom. I have my brothers. We have all these different things that we are in our lives. And to think that we can't hold emotions and space for all these things at one point in time is simply not true. When we're feeling these things, it's because we're really in tune with what matters most to us. And it's not an either or. It's not a both and. It's knowing that you truly can have it all. You just have to understand that it's going to tug and pull and feel a little bit off sometimes. And that's totally normal. And it's total clarity for you. Are you trying to reach your protein goals without the heavy, chalky, yucky, milky protein shakes? Well, guess what? I have something just for you. Meet my new favorite protein, Clear Protein Plus. This is the protein that thinks it's a lemonade. This protein gives you 20 grams of pure protein, 0 sugar, and just 90 calories. I love it. It's delicious. It keeps me feeling energized, full, and there is 0 bloat. And you guys, I gotta tell you, this is personal. I have known Casey with My Ultimate Edge my entire life. Yes, we grew up in that small town in Kansas together. I trust her. I have used her products for years, and I have seen real results. You guys have to go check out My Ultimate Edge. It is your full body wellness solution, from gut health to hormones to weight loss to protein to energy, and even a new NAD powered sleep routine I promise you're going to love it as much as I do. Check out the show notes for a link to the Clear Protein Plus, as well as all the other products that I love. One of the things when I was prepping for this episode that I was thinking about was that so many times we seek outside counsel. We're like, help me with this. And self-awareness, a great thing to do is explore your emotions openly and be like I did with my husband of like, gosh, I'm super excited to get out, but man, I'm feeling very anxious and like, am I going to be good enough? Just being able to say like, I've got these two things going on, really helped me out. But self-awareness is an inside job. Like, you can't hire someone to be self-aware for you. You have to be able to understand your thoughts, ideas, and emotions. What are they saying to you? And then choosing how you show up. It's really about building your own voice and listening to whatever your body, your mind, your heart, your soul is trying to tell you. Sometimes that voice gets louder and louder and louder when it shows up again. And I remember this, that sometimes it does mean you need change. It doesn't mean powering through and ignoring your emotions when they're really, really loud. When I've told you guys before that I'm a working mom. And I remember I was working in the corporate world when I had my first son, Ben, and it's pretty interesting because I literally thought, I'm just going to hire a nanny and she'll arrive at 6 a.m. and then I'll go do my job. I'll travel as much as I need to because Scott gets home at 6 p.m. and then we'll have our weekends together. And it was not that simple, okay? It was not that simple. But I was so wrong about how I was going to feel that then when I wasn't feeling that way, I was like, oh shit, this isn't what I thought. And, I kind of gave myself some hardship through it. But then finally, like I got into like how I was supposed to be, how I was feeling, like how I felt good about it versus trying to dictate how I thought I should feel and how I was going to react and how I was going to show up. And it got good. Like I kind of got back into my rhythm. Everything worked out. Fast forward 18 months later, I had another baby. And while I was on my maternity leave, I remember this so distinctively. I had both of the boys on the floor. We were playing. Ben was, my boys are like 20 months apart. So he was close to turning 2 and Jack was, 2 or 3 months old. I had taken a 12-week maternity leave and Scott walked in the door and I just started crying. And he's like, oh my God, what's going on? I was like, I just don't know how I'm going to do this. Like, how can I be everything to everyone? Like it was doable with 1 kid, but how am I going to do it with 2 and keep the job? And I love my job, but how on earth could I possibly do all this? And he was like, babe, like he encouraged me. He's like, it's totally normal to be feeling all these different things, but why don't you go back to work, try it out, and see how it feels. Like rather than trying to predict what you should be feeling, like just go navigate it, step into it and be like, you know what? There's only one way to find out. And what I found this time was it was different. After a few months of the first time I went back to work, once I realized like it wasn't what I thought it was going to be, but I was okay with that, I got into my routine. And this time it just wasn't the same. It didn't feel right. Like there was something definitely off. And the swirl of emotions never settled. I couldn't get clarity on how I could do both. Like I just kept really being tugged and pulled in one direction. And it wasn't postpartum, hormones and just adjusting. It was really about alignment with who I came to be, who I was coming to be, how I was growing as a mom, how my career goals had changed and what I was looking for. And I knew in my gut that I needed change. But I allowed myself to go through that to get the data that my emotions gave me and my feelings so I could make a decision that was right for me versus a knee-jerk reaction of like, oh, I'm feeling this, I should go run that way. Because again, sometimes we don't really know what our emotions are trying to tell us until they tell us over and over and over and over again. And self-awareness isn't just knowing what you feel. It's about having the courage to listen to it and to really understand it and then to do something about it. It was data that I was collecting. So just so you know, I'm going to talk about this a little bit more, but I did end up quitting my corporate job and creating an entire new career for myself. Something I never thought I would do, but I had all the data to know that like, hey, this was the right move for me. And I felt so freaking good about it. Yes. Was I scared to death? Did I have guilt? Did I have all the things? Yes, I was all over the place emotionally, but I knew in my heart of hearts, it was the right decision for me. So I'm going to go through a few self-awareness practices that I've used to really elevate my self-awareness, tap into it, understand who is Tara Renze, who did she come to be, how can she be all these different things with these different people, and stay true to authentically who I am, which I think is so important. So self-awareness practice number one, numero uno, for those of you. My boys are in Spanish, so we're using lots of Spanish words around the house, even though Spanish is one of those things I wish I knew better. Okay, rabbit hole we're not going to go into. Name it to tame it, okay? Get used to naming your emotions, how you feel. Get specific. Don't just say I'm overwhelmed, right? What does that really mean? You know, that week, that Sunday before I was out going on that trip, I felt very overwhelmed. Like I was overwhelmed because I wasn't in the routine of doing all the things. And I used to say like, I'm stressed, I'm overwhelmed, but what does that really mean? What does that really mean? What I realized was it was like, I was almost overstimulated. I had so many things going on, from the logistics of work to the logistics of kids to, keeping up the house and cooking dinner. Again, all things I love to do, but you throw them all on top of each other and it can feel completely overwhelming. But what is it specifically trying to tell you? What I realized was that I just needed to, again, try not to do everything at once, but like break it off one at a time. And I could say like, I'm overwhelmed because I'm sad that I have to miss Jack's baseball game on Tuesday. I'm so excited that I get to be back on a stage. I'm feeling nervous about being back on a stage. But man, I can't wait to go connect with these people. I mean, all the things, right? I'm feeling overwhelmed because I haven't traveled in a month and I always get a little anxious when I get on an airplane. And how am I going to get from point A to point B? And will I have any hiccups? Like all the things, right? So I just started going through all of it. And then I was like, oh, this is actually normal. The overwhelm diced into small segments made it easier for me to navigate and understand. It's like before I go on a stage, people like, do you get nervous? Hell yes, I get nervous, but it's really like this excitement of like, oh my God, I am going to get out there. I'm going to speak to the power of one. And I'm so nervous, but I'm so excited at the same time. And those can feel the same in your body. So it's a small shift that gave me back my power versus the panic. And that is huge for any situation that you're in. So labeling your emotions can help you regulate them. Be specific. Be curious about it. If you're feeling overwhelmed, why? Why? Go through and write all the reasons down. It doesn't have to just be one, and nothing stupid, nothing silly, nothing small. Like one of the things that I was overwhelmed about was I wanted to make dinner for the kids, but I was like, shit, there is no way I can get to the store, get all this done. So I was like, okay, you know what? I called up my oldest son. I said, Ben, I want to cook you guys a great dinner tonight, but I need you to go to the store for me. He was like, cool, Mom, what do you need? I was like, oh my God, I love you. Thank you for doing this. And I was so proud of myself for just being like, oh my God, I don't have to do it all. I can regulate and I can name it, and then I can ask for help where I need it. I love this idea of number two, which is stop editing your emotions. Get this. You don't have to sanitize how you feel for other people's comfort. And I think so many times we do this, right? How are you? I'm good. What are you up to? Is everything good? I'm fine. Yeah, it's good. It's busy, right? We love to say that, oh, life is busy. I'm good. Bullshit. Like, let's get real, people. Like, let's actually start having normalized conversations about how we're feeling. I recently was after I had gone on a stint of travel, I was gone multiple times in a few weeks. And I got to this, we were at a basketball game for Ben, and I was talking to some of the other moms, and they're like, I don't know how you do it. You're always so upbeat. And I could have been like, I know, I'm good. And I was like, you know what? Honestly, I'm actually totally exhausted, but I am so glad to be here tonight. And it was this moment of honesty, of being like, I'm actually exhausted, but I'm so glad to be here, versus being like, yay, let's go. And just not even having that real connection. And that tiny truth of me just admitting, like, I'm so exhausted, but oh my God, there's no place I'd rather be in the world than sitting here on the sidelines with you guys. It created this amazing connection of just, empathy, love. And it was able for me to be like, how are you? What are you up to? And the real conversations versus I'm busy, I'm good, being real with what you're feeling. And, people don't need to love your performance. Like, we don't have to try to be something we're not. Again, if I wanted to say I'm exhausted, that doesn't give me permission to be like, I'm good, and snap at someone. That's not emotional intelligence. Emotional intelligence is to be able to be like, you're always so upbeat, and then be like, you know what, I'm honestly so exhausted. But then that optimism comes out, like, I'm so glad to be here. It's a huge difference. Again, not staying or not being in line with what you're feeling and then, suppressing it, but really understanding how you're feeling and then choosing how you show up. And you can be honest without being rude, without being short, without being snippy, without being mean, and then trying to blame it on whatever the circumstance was. Your emotions are valid exactly as they are. You still get to choose how you show up with them. Number 3, use your emotions as data. I talked about this when I was sharing about going back to work after that second baby. And, I know for a fact, because I struggled after I ended up quitting the job. I still struggled with, did I make the right decision? I had so much data that anytime I ever struggled of like, was this right? I could always go back and look at like, oh my gosh, yes, this is right for you. Look what you're doing. You're loving it. And that nostalgia of loving my corporate career was there, and that was okay. We're going to do a whole episode on nostalgia because it's one of my favorite things to talk about. Do not make decisions based on nostalgia. Who you were is not who you came to be. And we can pedestal and love areas of our lives, but that doesn't mean that that's where we should be now. And all the data showed me after going back to work, I wasn't getting comfortable. I wasn't okay with being gone. I wasn't okay with traveling. That feeling, those feelings, the uncertainty or the lack of the new schedule never became normal. All the data said something needs to shift. Something needs to change. You've changed. And at that moment, because I had enough data, I could change my career and my life knowing that I was going to be who I came to be and that it was okay for me to change. And I gave myself the permission and I had the data to do it versus acting impulsively by saying, oh, I feel this, I guess I should go do it. There's such a difference between actually feeling something and understanding if it's a truth or if it's trying to tell you something and how we could learn from it. So don't be afraid to ask your emotions, like, what am I trying to learn from this? What do I need to discover about myself? Self-awareness starts with curiosity, not criticism. No need to talk shit on yourself for feeling how you're feeling or wishing you didn't feel that way or judging yourself or feeling so bad that you feel a certain way. Like, what is it trying to tell you? And really, really getting in tune with that. So here's the takeaway on our episode on self-awareness. You don't have to feel amazing 24/7 to be aligned with exactly who you are and exactly who you came to be. You don't need to push down your discomfort to prove you're quote unquote okay. You don't have to do that. You don't have to pretend that you're something that you're not. And you definitely don't need to chase good vibes only to be who you came to be. You were not wired to be happy 24/7. And I guarantee you, how you got to where you are, all of your biggest successes, your most epic moments of happiness have not been built on you chasing rainbows and pots of gold, but it's about doing really hard shit and going all in on who you are and believing in yourself beyond reason and, turning your setbacks into comebacks and doing the fulfilling things and going the extra mile and patience and forgiveness and tenacity, all that. That is how you got to who you are and who you came to be. You do not need to have good vibes only and constantly be chasing happiness. You need to tune in to what is your body and your emotions telling you so that you can make the right decisions on who you are and who you came to be. What are the patterns? Honoring what's true for you. It's a quiet kind of power, but I promise you, get curious and it will change your life. Thank you guys so much for tuning in to this episode of the Be Who You Came to Be podcast. We're going to keep the series going. Lots of emotional intelligence traits and ideas and thoughts to talk about. If you have something specific that you want me to cover in the show, send me a note. You can always email me, Tara at Tara Renze. You can find me on Instagram, on LinkedIn, any of those. Shoot me a message. Tell me, like, I'm struggling with this, or I'm curious about this, or let's talk about this. I would love to curate content specifically for you, for the listeners. If you enjoyed today's episode, let me know. Maybe you have a friend who is in a season of swirl, is just having so much uncertainty, trying to figure out how to navigate their lives, trying to figure out exactly who that they came to be. Send this episode to them. Maybe it'll give them the clarity and the self-love that they need so that they can become ultra self-aware and make the best decisions based on where they're at in their life, what their emotions are trying to tell them, honoring them, not judging them, and then showing up as the best version of yourself. I want you to always remember, you're not alone. You're not off track. You are becoming. You are becoming exactly who you came to be. Live authentically you, keep shining your light, and be who you came to be.